What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today I beat Void Boss for difficulty 10. And you might have already seen that if you are on my Discord, but we got place 2 on the leaderboard. So a perfect clear, actually on turn 5. You get a perfect clear if you clear it on turn 6 or lower. So we even had 1 round to spare there. Sadly, only on rank 2 there on the leaderboard because my first attempt failed and we got around 7 clear, which can happen with LFA if you don't get the right hits. But on the second attempt it worked quite well, but by then Shadow Ares had already cleared. There are only 3 people right now that got perfect scores. I mean, for one reason that many people don't care about the perfect points, because you get the same rewards really, it's only for the leaderboard. So if you've cleared it, then well, I mean, you don't have to go for it, but I did. And today we are going to watch the clear, actually. I have one more attack. We are going to try and replicate my clear. And this is pretty much the team I went with. We have like DGN in here, just for some attribute reductions on the enemy. Actually, some nice damage support as well. PDE, some dodge, some buffs for the back row. We have Alakita. The boss does have, or the enemies do have, some attribute reductions. We get rid of those with Alikita and actually have some extra damage as well. There aren't too many good damage buffer heroes. We could have used MFF, but MFF, honestly, after they nerfed her, after they changed the attack, way worse, I have to say. Way worse than before. And I just went with Alikita for now. Of course, LFA for damage, SQH for extra damage buffs, and then we have IHP as a secondary damage dealer. I was impressed, I have to say that. I never used her in PvE before, and she's quite insane. So let's watch that clear, let's check that out, and let's hope we get some good scores, because, well, RNG, yeah, can be kind of problematic. Rather small damage on the boss at the start, but really, those guys don't deal damage to me. It is a bit ridiculous. So maybe watch that on ×2 speed. Because that will be over pretty fast, only 6-round fight. And it's actually good to get the boss in this range, because then we can overkill it with the next active skill if we have the luck for that, and can be kind of nice. You see some buffs on the boss, they're already gone. There's so many debuffs, there's actually nothing really. And yeah, that is perfect, getting the clear there. You can see the huge HP. Did you see that on the upper minion? Insane how much damage she does. And if we have perfect preparation, if she hit the right one and prepared that for LFA, that would have been even better. But I think that is again a turn 5 clear, actually. If we can clear off this minion with LFA right now. Maybe not. IHP. Oh, there it is. Okay, another turn 5 clear there. I am so surprised by IHP. Those are some really good hits, some really good damage. And I could clear this by turn 3, I think. Turn 3 or 4, if IHP prepares the enemies in the right way. I think turn 4 is possible. If IHP made the back row one a bit weaker, that LFA hit, and we got another overkill, that could have worked out. And you can see the main damage is still from LFA. Nearly E plus 15 there, 9.8 E plus 14. And we got 5.5 E plus 14 there on IHP, which is less. And also in comparison to the attack a little bit less. But you have to keep in mind that my IHP only has Giant Killer really. And LFA has Giant Killer, we have Defier, we have Hunter's Focus. So we have 3 damage stats there, which also changes it a bit. I'm actually really surprised by IHP and want to use her if they release another Void campaign stage. On the other hand, in my clear, DGN actually got to 1 E plus 14, so that is possible. It's still really good damage. She has GK Defier, so that works out. And one thing that I run on all of my damage dealing heroes, on DGN, on LFA, and on IHP, is also Balance Strike, because that's just a huge damage buff. And Wrist Fight really is about squeezing basically 1.5 or 1.4 E plus 15 damage in 6 rounds, and that is the entire goal, because, well, there isn't really too much damage. I mean, you wouldn't have really noticed any of those heroes dealing damage, and partly it's of course because we reduced their attack so much. But on the other hand, I feel like they didn't give this boss too many threatening mechanics, and yeah, so I didn't think this boss was too insane. Of course, if you have a lower power, then this will be another story. I heard he targets lowest attack, lowest HP, so yeah, this will be punishing, I'm sure, but really for me at this power level right now, it really wasn't. So what I really wanted to make sure of is to equip the deific melodic strings. I ran Endless before, but I compared both of the artifacts really. And what I noticed is if you run the Antlers, which we also have the deific Antlers here, it says at the end of each round increase the hero's all damage dealt by 9% and all damage reduction by 1%. The all damage reduction is worthless, so we only have the 9%. It's kind of a rather weak start into the fight, because you start off with like 0 all damage dealt. You of course have the skill damage, which is nice. You have the precision, which is nice. Also some attack, but we also have attack and holy damage here, so it's kind of good already. And on this one we start off with 50 all damage dealt and 50% attack, so we really do have like the insane burst. And with the deific melodic strings, we no longer have the disadvantage of all of our buffs being gone at some point. We actually regain them at the beginning of round 4, so we have a second time in the fight where we get this huge burst. And this is kind of insane. And if you consider how the all damage dealt scales, then we can just go through it. Turn 1, you have 0. Turn 2, you have 9, 18, 27, 36, and the last round that is relevant is 45. So you never even reach that 50% all damage dealt that melodic strings does grant you on 2 rounds and within those 6 rounds. So that makes it way better artifact, of course. The only thing that we really have to take into comparison is, okay, we have lower attack, we have precision skill damage here. Skill damage is really, really good. So, yeah, bit of a problem there. It's a bit hard to compare, but I ended up choosing the melodic strings, and I think it was the right choice. Same artifact, of course, on LFA, and went with the holy damage, skill damage stone there. And right now, I have to say they have Petrify apparently, but I saw so little CC. PDE took care of everything in all of the fights that I saw, so I could have run something else. I really didn't want to run attribute reduction here. I could have probably run shared fate, but I just stayed with control purify. The thing is, I don't really have to take care of the attribute reductions. For once, we have the level 9 skill. That removes 1 attribute reduction, converts it to a buff actually. And on the other hand, we ran Alikita in this fight. And Alikita, there we actually have her core. And we ran the core as well at the level 8. So we get the authority manipulation on the enemy. And then we get structure inversion. And structure inversion, we have to check out in our skills, I think. To check where the description for that actually is. Yeah, structure inversion converts 1 random attribute reduction owned into 1 corresponding attribute buff. So we give the enemy basically gives us that, and they inflict so little attribute reductions that this takes care of everything they put on us. So there is no CC that could threaten us. There are no attribute reductions that could threaten us. And there's no damage over time that could threaten us, and they don't deal enough damage to actually kill us. So damage and all the mechanics this boss had were no concern. I didn't see any marks they inflict, so we took care of everything with that, and from there on out, it's full concentration on the damage, which we do through Demon Belts on the 4 remaining heroes, and which we do through Balance Strike mostly. It would be nice to have more of a damage support. I might have switched Alikita to another damage support hero, but really with MFF, it's I'm not sure. I honestly could see her fall out of like the Star Expedition teams at one point, just because we had this insane buff from her, which was through her evolutionary factor, and this was this attack buff there. Increases self-attack by 12%, and then if you had the Noble Sublimation, 33% of its effect was granted to allies, which was supposed to be, of course, 4%, and they made a mistake there, and it ended up not being 4%, it was like 40%. And of course, if you have like a 600% attack buff at the end of the fight, then this is kind of madness or something. Well, you don't get 600%, but like over 400% attack buff at the end of the fight. Yeah, that's madness. That's absolute madness. Compare that to the 50% of the Ifikab, and you kind of get a perspective for it. It was in fact so insane that most other mechanics in the game felt weak. We tested Star Alchemist Tom's Young, who had a very nice attack buff, and he felt weak, and I still think it is because we had this insane attack buff in the game. which by now is a lot weaker. But this was really a huge part of her power. So I tried her in some fights, took her out of the team, and I didn't even notice the power going down. In the end, I switched her to IHP and having the second damage dealer. You saw the performance there was definitely worthwhile. Of course, no, it's not easy to copy in that sense. 117 million. There having another 75 million, and like most supporters and damage dealers with like huge attack is not easy to copy. But I saw some clears with way lower attack, just not within the time frame for the perfect points. But you don't need that to get all the loot. So yeah, that being said, that was like the team I used for this Void Boss. Probably there will be some more, well, cost-effective, efficient methods to clear it soon. I think it is one of the easier bosses, but I'm also not sure about the mechanics. In my opinion, this boss wasn't too much fun. It was mostly that I appreciated because of the loot. Loot was pretty big, but like the mechanics itself on some other bosses, I probably had a better experience fighting them. Like I pretty much appreciated boss 1. Boss 1 I think was the best Void Boss experience that I had. It was super difficult. You had to adjust a whole lot of things, and we reached boss 10. I think nobody had like perfect points, and that was fun. That was fun. It was like maybe it's a bit overtuned. I think people still struggle with it, but it was just fun setting everything up and finding like these small adjustments you could make to maybe get a few more points, maybe get this one round earlier clear. And we just didn't have this feeling on Void Boss 4. So yeah, bit sad on that one, but it was good loot, so I take it. And with that, I would say make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.